Hello. Oh my god, who thought I'd be back so soon? Not me. Not me. By any means of the word did I think I'd be back this soon. But here I am, 27-degree heat outside, this bum-ass top on that I've spilt mayonnaise. I've spilt that down it, but here I am, back for another book club. Who's excited? Me. Who wants to go to Maisie FL's shit book club? Me. Anyway, hello, welcome back to book club with me, Maisie FL. Still me. Yes, still me. I know I'm a hypochondriac, but I'm not dead yet. Okay. I don't know why I said that. That's going to send me down a spiral. Anyway, hello, welcome back. Book club, back in order, back in session, back for another round. Who enjoyed last week's book club? Drop a like if you did. So I don't know why I'm in such a cheeky mood. It's because I'm nervous. I'm stressed. I'm driving to Manchester this evening. I don't know if you can see my... Oh my god, my mum is going absolutely crazy outside. I've got my bloody suitcase on my bed. I've been looking at maps on how long it will take me to get there. I'm excited. I'm nervous. Could possibly shit myself. Anyway, 3 minutes into filming and I've not even introduced the book. Awesome. Hello. Today I'm going to be discussing, time to get my serious face on, Cleopatra and Frankenstein. Now, I first read this book in 2023. Well, I say I first read, that's the only time I've read it. I've read it once. But ever since I read it, God, this thing is, my grammar is a little bit appalling to be sat down and dedicating a whole series to talking about books. I also realised that I spoke about Eliza Clark's Boy Parts in my last book club, and I just kept saying her other novel wrong. I kept calling it Penzance, as in a place in Cornwall, I'm pretty sure, and it's called Penance. So that's slightly embarrassing. Anyway, not like me to embarrass myself, is it? I have not stopped thinking about this. Well, I have, like, for brief moments in time, but on the whole, this book really stayed with me. I thought about it a lot. I still do. That's why I'm talking about it today. Doy. And it got me... Oh, sorry, the book I'm holding up, this is your copy, because guess what? You could win a copy of Cleopatra and Frankenstein by simply watching this video, giving it a like, and being subscribed, because I give away a copy of the book I'm reading each week in my book club. So if you want to read this book, that's all you've got to do. And you can win it as well. You don't even have to pay a feckin' penny. That's your one. I don't want to ruin that. Let me get my beat up one out. I got this one off of Vinted. So this book got me so excited to see what more Coco Mellon, sorry if I refer to her as that, but that name is just, that's gold. It got me so excited to see what else she'd write, and then she obviously wrote, well, I say obviously, you might not know, but she wrote another book, and it's called Blue Sisters. Now, fuck me, this Gil, this 30-something-year-old woman, she can write a book, okay? She's got a little thing I would call talent, because both books... fantastic. Both books fantastic. In their own right, in their own way. Cleopatra and Frankenstein is a great book. Like I said, I haven't stopped thinking about it since, apart from like brief moments in time. But the characters in it, spoiler alert, all awful. I hated every single one of them. But to me, that is testament to good writing if you can write a bad character. Because I think it's kind of easy to write a good character, a character that just like appeals to everyone. Writing a bad character, and not just one, about... maybe 7. I think there's 7 main characters. Well, there's 2 main characters and then there's like everyone else. Side characters, if you will. But Blue Sisters was amazing. I'm going to do a book club on Blue Sisters as well. This one isn't about Blue Sisters, obviously. It's about Cleopatra for her. Oh, what? It's about Cleopatra and Frankenstein, like I said. But Coco Mellors, this was her debut, I was going to say single, debut novel. Again, another author who just dropped an absolute bang-o-rang for a debut novel. Like, to drop this, same sort of vibe as Boy Parts, same vibe as Normal People, same vibe as Evenings and Weekends, like, same vibe Before the Coffee Gets Cold. Actually, I don't even know if that was his debut novel, but it was the first one in the series and it was fantastic. This is like crazy levels for a debut novel. Now, on the whole, I think this has quite positive feedback, Cleopatra and Frankenstein. Some people I know, or some people I've seen online, have said that they don't think it lived up to the hype. But that's always going to be the case when a book goes viral on TikTok. Like, sometimes it's not going to live up to the hype. Like, surprise, that's something that happens in life. But anyway, let's get into it. As always, I've got my little spreadsheet, and by that I mean my notes app on my phone with all of my little prompts, and let's see if it goes a bit more smoothly this time, because Lord knows it hasn't the past few. Oh my god. Anyway, so where are they from? The author, I mean, Coco Mellors. She's in her 30s and she grew up in London, okay? This is something I didn't know. I literally found out by searching where is Coco Mellors from. She's from London. She grew up in, like, she's English. What? And I always said about Blue Sisters how she described London so well for being not from London. Well, that's where she feckin' did it, mate. Because she is from London. She moved to New York as a teenager and she studied in New York. I think she got a degree in creative writing. And then from there, she's written Cleopatra and Frankenstein. She's written Blue Sisters. She's currently working on her third novel. Cannot wait to see what she brings out next. And she has a son and a husband and she lives with him in New York. So that's a little bit of backstory on her. How I chose this book. Okay, this is fallen under the category of being judged by what? What am I saying? This book falls heavily into the category of judging a book by its cover because fuck me, does she know how to get does she know how to do a good cover? Love the font. This kind of like is the same category as Boy Parts because that is a stunning book. That cover, are you joking? The use of the pink and the blue, love the image on the front, the font choice, just absolutely called out to me. Also the title of the book, I spoke about it a bit with Boy Parts, how the title drew me in, but the same with Cleopatra and Frankenstein. I was like, that's a fun title. Read the blurb. I'll read you what her blurb is and then I'll read you my summary, shall we? The blurb says, New York is slipping from Cleo's grasp, 24 at a different party every night with a student visa that's swiftly running out. She doesn't even have money for cigarettes. No! But then a chance encounter on New Year's Eve offers her a way out. Frank, successful and 20 years older, can give her the security she craves and the green card she needs. Okay, 90 Day Fiancé. And in Cleo, he sees a life filled with beauty, art and freedom. As the two rush headlong into an impulsive marriage and their friends are drawn into a tumultuous orbit, what began as a chance meeting will change their lives forever. Okay, first of all, pat on my freaking back for being able to read that without stuttering. Yes, I'm improving. I'm getting better. Slightly. So I picked that book up because of how it looked, but I also heard about it on TikTok, and a girl that I used to work with, Melody, her name is, she told me about this book, I'm pretty sure, and she said she loved it and she recommended it to me. So I was like, oh, I'll give it a read, and I did, and now I'm sat here talking about it. Crazy how the world works. It just, the font, the image, the look of it, the sound of it, I could imagine myself reading it. If you don't know, I've said this so many times before, and if you're an avid watcher of these book clubs, you're probably sick of hearing it, but I go into a bookshop, I pick up a book that I think I'll like, I scroll! No! I flick! How dare you! I scroll to a random... No! I don't scroll! This is awful! Please, no judgment, okay? I need help. I flick to a random page and I read a little extract from the page and I think to myself, can I see myself reading this? And if I think yes, I buy it, okay? So that's kind of how I chose this book. Sorry, I'm getting very overwhelmed because it's actually very hot outside. It's 27 degrees and I'm in this top, which isn't even a top because it's like a 4 million XL. It's so big and so long on me. Anyway, you don't want to know about this. And look, it's kind of scary. My mum keeps saying that she can't look at me when I wear it. And I was like, okay. Yes. And anyway, my little summary. Now I can scroll. I'm scrolling on my phone now. I always say little summary and then I write a huge summary. So, new note. I didn't want to do that, did I? I said, Cleo is a 24-year-old artist on a student visa and meets 45-year-old Frank on New Year's Eve in New York. They have an instant connection and attraction and marry quickly in June, which is partly to solve Cleo's green card / visa problems. The novel follows their whirlwind marriage and the group of people around them. Frank's half-sister Zoe, who's only a few years younger than Cleo, his best friend Anders, who has deep-rooted insecurities that we see throughout the novel, Quentin, Cleo's close friends who's grappling with his sexual identity and substance abuse, Cleo's estranged father and stepmother, Eleanor, a woman who works at Frank's marketing firm, Santiago, Frank's friend who he and Cleo met through. I don't know why I said that like there was more. There's not. The stark age gap is a huge part of the plot, as it seems to be where a lot of their problems derive from, the difference in emotional maturity, the different stages of life they're in, and what each of them consider important. Although the story is based on their marriage, it really focuses on loneliness and addiction and mental health. The marriage between Cleo and Frank is impacted a lot by the opinions of those around them, and we see Cleo grappling with her marriage to an alcoholic, her struggles with self-image, and her struggle with self-image and infidelity and trying to cope with her trauma, and in turn the decline in her mental well-being. There's a quote in Frank's vows: "When the darkest part of you eats the darkest part of me, it creates light," which is an oxymoron in a way, as their relationship is always in a dark place. Despite the name of the novel being Cleopatra and Frankenstein, and those characters being who the plot is namely about, we do get to know side characters very well, and their past and opinions are woven well into the marriage of Cleo and Frank. There are a lot of shocking events that unfold, trigger warning, animal neglect, and we really do see the full spectrum of human emotion in this book, good, bad and ugly. I do think the age gap in their relationship is slightly glossed over due to the severity of their problems in their marriage, but it's such a huge part of this novel, and every time I think of it, I always remember the question: why can men who are that old never get or never want a woman their age? Frank is no exception to that question. Also, classic, thinking an older man will be more mature and nicer, but that being the complete opposite in almost every case. Okay, that was my small little summary of the book, which wasn't small or little at all. So I feel like I kind of glossed over the whole plot in a way that doesn't spoil it. Obviously I did mention why does it like I've got a bob, and why am I sweating so heavily? This is very, very alarming to me. Have I got a hairband anywhere? Wait, right. I don't know how that looks. Probably bad. Yes, probably bad. Okay, sorry, I've had to put my hair up because I'm sweating buckets. Okay, so that's like sort of an overview of the plot, what happens, and the whole novel is based on their marriage, and it goes quite into depth about each of their personal lives, their lives before the marriage, what happens during the marriage. So much happens in this book. This book is great if you need something to constantly be happening, because there's always drama, and that is why I loved it. It's set in New York, where my dream place to go is New York. I am scared to go there in its current climate at the moment, but that's always been like the one place I really want to visit. So I love anything that's set in New York. TV show, film, book, anything. Didn't love Materialist though. That film, garbage. Anyway, sorry, this is not about Materialist, but it was shit, okay? I love anything based in New York, and that made it really easy to visualize this book because there was so much detail about where they were, what was happening, where they lived. I loved it. I loved how descriptive it was, which is sometimes something I really struggle with. So, again, testament to good writing. Thank you, Coco Mellon. I'd say the themes of the book are love, loss, social status, money and wealth, mental health, addiction, age gap relationships, desire, animal neglect, infidelity, regret, suicide, and betrayal. There is a lot covered in this book, that every character has its own sort of thing going on, and then because all of the characters know each other, it all intertwines to like the main focus of the plot, which is Cleo and Frank's marriage. Sorry, this ponytail is looking bum ass in the viewfinder. It's got to come down. I'll just sweat out the doubt, as they say. Yeah, there was a lot going on in this book, but I enjoyed pretty much almost all of it. I said for how many pages and could some of them been cut out. There's 384 pages, fact. Maybe some of it could have been cut out, but that's mainly because it was characters I didn't care about that much. Lol. Also, part of me thought that the animal neglect wasn't necessary, but at the same time, I think it is, as it encapsulates just how incompetent and thoughtless Frank could be. Classic weaponized incompetence. So yeah, there were some events that happened in the book that were quite heavy, vis-a-vis animal neglect, vis-a-vis mental health, vis-a-vis suicide. So those are like your sort of warnings if you think maybe that's not something you want to read. It is a bit heavy in places, but I do think, even though, like, especially the animal neglect, I hate reading about it, I hate seeing anything about it, I hate watching anything about it, like, I can't do it, but I do think in this book, and I know a lot of people didn't like it, and I spoke to my friend Harvey, and I'm pretty sure he said when he read that bit, that's where it lost him, he just stopped reading from there on, but I do think part of me does think it was necessary to really, like I said, encapsulate how thoughtless Frank could be and how careless he was in situations like that. I don't know, obviously it's horrible to read about, obviously I don't want to hear about that sort of thing, it'll keep me up at night, but it was worked well into the plot and did expose a lot of Frank's character in that moment. Like, you were really like, wow, this man is a piece of shit, like, shock, clap if you care, well, clap if you're surprised. Not surprised. Do you know what I mean? In terms of how long it took me to read it, I think I started this in May and finished it in September of 2023, but I can't really remember. as I said, it was 2 years ago when I wasn't really reading properly, so don't let that be a reflection on the book, because I could tear through this book in less than a week. It is so compelling and so Moorish. Each chapter is named after the month it happens in. So, you know, it'll be like May, and then the next chapter will be like still May, and the next chapter will be June. And in each chapter, there is a mishmash of all of the characters' different lives. So it will focus on Frank for a bit, then it will focus on Cleo for a bit, then it will go to Anders, then it will go to Zoe, then it will go to Santiago. Like, there is a lot happening in this book at all times. Like I mentioned, sorry, just opening my legs up there, don't be alarmed. It's just very, very warm, and I've got a bruise on my leg. How the F did I get that? Anyway, so, oh my god, I can't sit still. Ants in me pants. I remember they said that to me in school once, and I was like, you can't say that to a girl with undiagnosed ADHD. Well, you can. You could say anything back then. No one would ever shit. They said it and no one cared, so there's that. Was it an easy read? How many times did I reread the same lines, and was I forcing myself to read it and finish it? I said to my own question, thank you, Your Honour, I think it was an easy read in parts, despite the plot feeling quite jumpy in places. There are a lot of characters to keep up with, and even the minor characters we met once or twice get a lot of depth and description. I think whenever I reread lines, it was due to pure shock and trying to fully comprehend what I just read. Some of it I genuinely would read, like the part about the animal neglect, and there was like other like crazy things that happened that I was like, let me read that again. Reload it. What the fuck did I just read? That's how I felt reading this book, because there were so many moments that I was like, yeah, I didn't see that coming. And they introduce a new character quite late into the book that I'm about to speak about, and I was like, didn't see that coming. And then like you got to know her a bit, and all of her like sort of trauma and lore, when that got dropped, I was like, oh my god, there's so much going on. Like it really is a reflection on how like you think these people who've got loads of money and like fuck loads of friends and social status and all this bullshit, they have it all together. They don't. Like, these characters don't, so I don't believe anyone real does. Do you know what I mean? Like, when people are like, yeah, my life's really put together, I'm thinking, you're a fucking liar. You're a fucking liar. I will never feel put together. I'm constantly on the verge of having a panic attack, shitting myself, throwing up, or crying. And that's my confession. The style of writing in the book, in terms of like correlation to how easy it was to read, it uses third person and a non-linear story. So there's not really a clear plot. There's not really a clear plot that you can follow with like a beginning, middle, end, like conflict resolution. She makes use of flashbacks, and the plot is quite jumpy as the characters reflect on past events which explain why they are the way they are now. So it sort of does a lot of their trauma, a lot of their past, sort of helps you like understand who they are as a character now, which is quite nice, even though it is quite jumpy. And then later on in the book, so we're over a third of the way through the book, she introduces a new character, and her name is Eleanor. She's the one that works at Frank's marketing firm, and her parts are in first person narration, which helps break the plot up a bit. I do understand a lot of people found it a bit like, what the fuck, like we're jumping into a completely different narrative style. But I like it. I like a first person narration, even though it's not always like reliable. It's nice to have a bit of a break from like a different style. And it, like I said, it breaks the plot up really well. I liked her narrations. It was very much like, kind of like a diary. Like you were just hearing her inner monologue, which I quite liked. I think the use of first person narrative and hearing her inner monologue was imperative to her character due to the nature of her friendship and relationship with Frank, so that she wasn't demonized and we could understand her perspective and hear from someone who is outside Cleo and Frank's circle. We also see Frank in a different light in Eleanor's parts of the book, which I just didn't care about. Brother, this guy sucks, I wrote. Because I don't want to spoil it, but like obviously Eleanor is someone else completely. She's not part of their friendship circle. She's someone from Frank's work, so she sees Frank in a different light. You then see Frank in a different light from her perspective. You sort of see how their friendship and relationship grows throughout the novel, but I just didn't care. I didn't care because I fucking hated him. He was such an awful partner. I'm just thinking, why are you interested in a 24-year-old girl? Queen, get behind me. Is he bothering you? That's how I feel towards Cleo. But then I also think like they were both awful people. They were awful for each other, and it was kind of like same sort of vibe as Boy Parts, but not as gruesome and vicious and murderous. But it's like a car crash that you can't look away from. Like you're like, I really shouldn't watch this. This is really not good. But then you're like, I literally can't look away even if I tried. That's how I feel about this book, because there's so many things that happen and I'm like, Gag City, Resident 1, me. That's how I felt in this book. I felt like a permanent resident in Gag City. And all these fucking characters were from Flopville, I'm telling you. Speaking of how I felt about the characters, I said hated, right, not the lisp. Hated literally all of them. They were all so deeply flawed and awful people. Eleanor wasn't as bad, but she was introduced quite late in the book, so I felt like I didn't care about her that much. Also, she liked Frank, so I didn't like... Also, her parts of the book was sort of like a redemption arc for Frank, and I just did not think that was necessary or possible because he was trash. That's trash. He was trash. He was such an awful person. Every time I read about him, I was like, you are shitmas. You are so awful and I hate you. So I was like, why are we trying to defend him? Let's not defend him. I'm not on the Frank defend train. First and only stop Flop City. I'm on the express line to Gagdville because why are we doing that? Why? Like, it was just so unnecessary because he was awful. Like I said, he was just so bad. So when they were trying to, like, explain that he had a soft and sensitive side, I was thinking, I don't care. I don't care. It's like when someone is so deeply horrid to you, especially, like, old ladies. Old ladies will be like, you look shit, you are a bitch, and I hate your tattoos, and you're gay. And then someone's like, oh, but it's their first time living too. And it's like, and I'm meant to give a shit? Because I don't. Sorry. You know what I mean? I fucking twat. Just didn't care. Could I visualise it? Yes. I think this is the book I've been able to visualise the most out of any I've read. I can see what the characters look like in my head, and I really hope if they make a film that they do it justice and they cast it properly. In my head, Maisie Peters is Cleo, and the man who used to come into my old job at the cafe and get a tuna panini is Frank. Curly hair, not that tall, kind of in a suit. Well, he is in a suit, not kind of. Glasses. You know? Like, kind of like handsome, but also like, I look at him and I think, fuck you. You know what I mean? That's the sort of guy I'm looking for. Because I think this would be such a good film. It would be heavy, but it would be good, and I would love to be in it. So just give me the call and I'll be there. I can clear my schedule alarmingly quickly. Was I sad when it ended? Not really, because the ending lost me slightly. The pacing felt very rushed towards the end. Cleo's declining mental health felt like it accelerated. Awesome. It felt like it accelerated quite quickly, which of course can happen in real life and it's not unrealistic, but it did feel like it was like rushed slightly, and it kind of felt hard to keep up with it because it was like, she's not doing well, the marriage isn't great, and then it's like, fuck, she's awfully doing well. She's doing awfully badly. Sorry. That's how confused I was. I was like, wow, she is in the shitter right now. So it was kind of hard to keep up at the end. And like, they're obviously like trying to tie up loose ends. I said that. The ending felt like trying to tie up loose ends, but I appreciate that even more than an ambiguous ending, even if it does mean the pacing falls slightly off track. I hate an ambiguous ending. I need to be spoon-fed like a toddler. You need to treat me as if you're teaching a monkey Mandarin. I need everything explained to me because I'm not that switched on. I don't know if you've noticed that yet, but you know, it's not all there. All the gear, no idea. So I like an ending that's a bit more like easy to understand. Obviously sometimes it's nice to have an ambiguous ending, quite artsy fartsy and whatnot, and it was all a dream. I remember when I did that at school, my teacher got so angry at me and I was like, oh, so you've not heard of creative genius, have you? Because that's what that was. Anyway, so yeah, the ending was a bit weird. Maybe it could have been done a bit better, but I still enjoyed it nonetheless. And when I think of that book, I don't think of the ending. I just think of like everything else that happened before, which was just all fucking crazy. Did I care what happened? Was I affected by what the characters went through in their stories? I said I don't know if I'd say I cared what happened, as opposed to just being nosy. Got a big enough nose for it. I just wanted to be in the know of what was happening. The characters are so deeply flawed and are just terrible people, which is realistic, because I think everyone is a bad person in some form. I'll happily admit that I'm a bad person. I'm a hater by blood. So you don't have anything on me because I'll admit it myself. It's kind of hard to actually care about any of them. They're very much characters that are like people you meet at a party and think, wow, I want to be friends with them. They seem so cool. And then you quickly realise they're awful, and being close friends with them would be detrimental to your mental well-being. The extent of my care ended up me being nosy and loving gossip, and that's just the God's honest truth. I thought, I do want to know, but I don't necessarily care what happens because you're all pretty shit. I cared slightly more for Cleo because I thought, you know, you are just a confused 24-year-old girl, and I'm going to be 24 this year, and I'm confused and I'm scared, but I don't think I would marry a 45-year-old just yet. Let's see how it pans out with Michael first. So I had a little bit more care towards her, and I did feel bad for a lot of the things that she went through and then, like, what ultimately happened to her, but she was still awful as well. So, kind of a double-edged sword, you know? And would I recommend it? What did I rate it? I rated this book 3.5 stars, but I'd now say 4. I always say this book when someone asks for recommendations and also think about it often. I think the writing is good, and the characters being so hateable is testament to good writing. The story is compelling, and it really has an element of glamour and the idealised life in New York, while also being painfully real and about how imperfect life is and how your past and bad habits will always catch up with you. Yes, mic drop. I'm not actually going to do that. Don't want to hurt this microphone. It costs a pretty penny, but when I first read it, I was like a bit confused by the end, and I was just a bit like, that was a bit rushed, and I felt a bit unfulfilled. And then I think what was testament to how I think it deserved 4 stars instead of 3.5 was how much I thought about it, because I was like, wow, like that left something. It left something with me, you know what I mean? I was there like, wow, this is actually kind of awesome. And then I was so excited for Blue Sisters, and Blue Sisters didn't disappoint either. Spoiler alert, I loved Blue Sisters. Kind of hard for me to decide which one I liked more. Blue Sisters literally made me like physically cry, but we'll get into that in my Blue Sisters episode. Maybe that'll be the next one. Little double feature. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this book club. I'm absolutely sweating my TITS off. I don't like saying that word out loud. Sorry. I don't like it. I know I can throw around an F-bomb and a C-bomb, but the TITS word, not for me. I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope you enjoyed. If you want to win a copy of Cleopatra and Frankenstein, like I said, all you have to do, like the video, comment down, make sure you're subscribed, and then I will comment, and then I will pick a winner and reply to their comment when I post the next book club. That's how it works. And I will make sure that I comment on the Boy Parts book club and reply to who won that one. If you entered the last book club's giveaway, then make sure to check if I've replied to your comment, because you will be the winner, and I will need an address to send it to you. I do not know where you all live, sadly. Oh, that sounded weird. Anyway, I'm going to go now because I need to drive to Manchester. Awesome! I am sweating. Okay, love you all so much. Bye! Oh, so warm. Bye!